Today's video begins with utter chaos. There has been a disaster and some of my favourite plants have been affected. And just in case you were wondering as well, yes, the rug is still outside. Has it rained? Yes. Have I done anything about it? No. I'm not glad that this has happened. I'm definitely not glad that this has happened, but I do feel like maybe I needed a sign or needed a little bit of a kick up the backside to actually get on and deal with this section. So thank you, Joli, because Joli has just ploughed her way through the plants here, and this isn't the first time it's happened, but this is definitely the most dramatic time that it's happened. I've got my variegated alocasia frydeck lying on the floor here with ripped leaves. I've got a section of my beautiful variegated euphorbia that has just snapped off and it's lying on the floor, and that is just what I can see so far. I haven't even properly looked at it. I just started filming and I was like, we can deal with it together. So yes, that is what this video is going to start with. I feel like this is going to kind of just be like a little continuation of the New Year's reset video that I did the other day, because I've got lots of plant chores that I want to work my way through. But primarily I want to properly organise this section because it's so cluttered, so crammed. It is an accident waiting to happen, or it is the scene of an accident. But yeah, so that is what I'm planning on getting through today. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Joli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learnt over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, so as usual, if you've got planty stuff to be doing as well, or you've got cleaning or organising or drama to fix, please feel free to do it along with me and we can do it together. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So although it's tempting to just get in there with a dustpan and brush and just clear everything up, I think what I probably need to do, and I know it's going to take a while, but I think I should probably take all of the plants out of that area, and that way I can just have a think about how to optimize that space for each individual plant, which plants I can potentially switch out of that area as well, because I know I've got some that could cope in slightly lower lighting conditions, but I've just been keeping there and they've been making the area very crowded. So I'm gonna start with taking everything out, assessing the damage, seeing how bad things are, seeing if things are savable, and then we can go from there. Look, this is the new section of growth on my variegated euphorbia. Oh, I was so excited about that. I mean, I will be able to propagate this section, so it's not like I'm going to lose it completely. And I think when I get over the sadness of the fact that this has happened, I'm actually going to be quite excited because I've never propagated this plant before, and I'm definitely never brave enough normally to chop it. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise that this has happened. Maybe. Oh, my baby. Okay, the damage could be worse. However, like, look at the rips in her leaves. There's no broken stems. And although I've lost a lot of the substrate, I think everything down in the roots looks fairly good. There's no major breakages that I can see, but I might just get it out and have a proper look at it just to be on the safe side, because this plant is honestly, like, it is the apple of my eye and one of the plants that I love the most. And I'm so sad that this has happened. Oh my God. Transporting this one is not as easy as it once was. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how much my euphorbia has grown? This is the one that I think about 2 months ago, I was like, I'll be able to measure how big it's grown because of the window boxes, and that was about there. It is literally almost as tall as me now, which is crazy. luckily, I think the damage on this is okay. It's better than I thought it was going to be. Check out the chaos. Plants everywhere. Needless to say, I have put Joli in the other room as I do this. So as you can see, my variegated euphorbias also had another break just here. And although it's not ideal, I'm almost in a way quite intrigued because I've wanted to try notching on this plant for quite a while to see whether or not it's going to encourage the plant to branch more. I've never had the nerve to actually cut it before, so maybe this will answer my question. So, the floor here is never going to be in the best state because I've currently got leaks just above my windows. They've been like that pretty much since I moved in, and it's a very long ongoing process. But it does unfortunately mean that the floor around here gets wet from time to time. So I'm not worried too much about the staining. I'm pretty sure also because this has literally just happened, the water staining will come out from the floor. I've given it a wipe. I've given everything a sweep up. I've given it a hoover. I think that should be okay. But one thing I am going to do is I'm just going to give the window frames and the windows a little wipe over. I'm not going to do a full-on clean, but I am just going to give them a little wipe over because I feel like that is a more manageable way of tackling the issues that I have been putting off. But also at this time of year, especially keeping your windows clean is really, really important if you've got houseplants, just because any buildup of dust and dirt can absolutely prevent your plants from absorbing all of the light they need in order to photosynthesize. Obviously, hours of light are less, and the light that they receive is typically not as intense, so this is technically even more important. And I've been saying I'm going to do it for a while, and I haven't done it. So this is the day. Today is the day we get everything done. I thought I would just take a quick break before I start on the windows, but oh my goodness, already that area is looking so much better. Sometimes you don't realize how, I think especially with having plants, you don't realize how dirty an area's got until you actually get in there and clean it. And it looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself, and I feel like I'm massively holding myself accountable, and that feels like a good thing to be doing. Mentally, I feel like I'm gonna feel much clearer after I've done all of this. But I thought while I was taking 5, I would show you a couple of exciting things that I've come across when I was moving my plants out of the way. I feel like this bit by the window is an area that can get a little bit neglected, and I've got quite a lot of plants down here that I haven't maybe given you updates on in a while. And there's a few things that I am excited to share, starting with my Hoya latifolia Sarawak. And this one, it has been damaged a little bit, only little scrapes. I can see some kind of latexy sap around the bottom, but it's got a new little leaf coming down the bottom there. And it's also starting to put out a tendril here. So I think I probably will get this one onto a trellis, maybe later today. I need to put it on my list, actually. My list that I'm trying to stick to and work my way through. But yeah, this is a plant that just hasn't really done anything for me, hasn't done anything successful for me in a very long time. It's just been fairly dormant. And so the fact that it's giving me a really big shoot of new growth is really encouraging. So hopefully we can get this one growing beautifully this year, because it is just the most gorgeous, gorgeous plant. And then also my little African milk tree euphorbia that I got at the London plant swap, the last London plant swap. I was a little bit worried about this one because I got it home, and I know you absolutely can and should leave them to callus over for quite a long time, but I left this one, I want to say like 2 weeks, and it was getting quite shriveled, and I was like, oh God, have I just been a really bad plant parent to just not tackle things quickly enough? And so I potted it up, and I was just looking at it when I was taking it out from by the window, and I can see, I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but I could, like there, I can see little roots, and it looks way fuller than it did before. So it has taken, and I'm so happy because this is one that produces those kind of little, I mean, I want to say leaves, but I'm not quite sure what their official term is. But it's just beautiful, and I'm so excited to have it in my collection. So yeah, I'm going to continue to probably keep it in this spot because it gets really good light there, but I'll figure all of that out when I get to putting things back in their place. But yeah, I'm gonna just give the windows a quick wipe over, just get them as clean as I have energy for, and then I can figure out where stuff is gonna go again and figure out how I can prevent what happened earlier happening again. Also, sad update, this is Ross's Fittonia. This is the little one that he called Pedro, and over Christmas when we weren't well, it just dried out completely. And I'm afraid there's no hope for it now. It's looking very dead indeed. Oh my goodness, my arm is so painful. It literally feels like it's gonna fall off, but the windows look sparkling. I'm really happy with that. And I must confess that in the whole year that I've lived here, I've never done inside and outside at the same time. And I can count on one hand the amount of times I've even cleaned the windows. So yeah, it feels good to have done that. And then the next thing that I'm gonna do, so these are my thoughts. The next thing I'm gonna do, the area behind me just here, that's where Joli jumped through before and the chaos happened. So I'm kind of thinking, I'd quite like to block that area if I can. At the moment, I've just kind of piled stuff there, but I'm thinking I've got my big plants like my Philodendron Splendid, my Monstera dubia. My Monstera dubia's moss pole also needs extending, so it's gonna be even bigger very soon. And I'm kind of thinking maybe putting them in that corner just there. So essentially I won't be able to get through that end either, but I feel like practically it's gonna, I don't know, it feels like they'll be kept out of the way and less prone to damage if I put them there. And also then I feel like I'll be able to kind of come in and out of this area a little bit easier. And Ross actually had a really good idea. And I think, although it's not gonna look as nice, I think at some point it might be something to think about. He was saying maybe to get one of those like, not stair gates, but almost like grills that goes, like you can kind of like make puppy pens out of them, if that makes sense. I'll put a picture on screen of what I think I mean. But maybe get something like that to go just across here so that if Joli tries to get through this bit and I've got lots of plants out, then she can't get through. Because obviously there's no real benefit in her coming in this space. She hates going out on the balcony, and it would just help to keep things safe and to keep her safe as well, because I mean, if that cactus had fallen on her earlier, it could have been really nasty, and luckily she's absolutely fine. But I feel like that's a precaution that I should absolutely put in place. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish my cup of tea, and then I'm gonna move some bigger plants that are not euphorbias over there, and then maybe build the shelves. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. My Philodendron Splendid is a bit of a tricky one because none of its leaves are growing one way. Like my Monstera dubia has just kind of grown towards the light, but this one, although the main stem has been facing the light. All of its leaves kind of go out at different directions, which, although makes it very beautiful and like a gorgeous 360 plant, it doesn't make finding space for it all that easy. The pot it's in is also not secure at all. I need something more robust. And I think eventually, although I have just ordered another set of shelves like that, they are like quite small and flimsy, eventually getting some more kind of like wire shelves or something like that that allows light to pass through it but has a bigger shelf space might be a good idea to do in the windows. I feel like that would really kind of optimize the space and help to raise stuff up quite a lot. But obviously I don't have that today, so I'm gonna work with what I've got and do the best I can for now. And I think if I keep this corner for big plants and things that can kind of go straight up against the window, then I can have smaller plants here. I can build the other shelves and maybe put them in the corner as well. I'm not sure about my euphorbias yet. I'm kind of thinking maybe they should be, oh, I don't know. I was gonna say bedroom plants because they're so low maintenance, but I do love them in here. Oh, decisions. What would you do? What would you guys do? All of this is open to change that I do today, so please comment below if you've got any ideas or if I'm doing something wrong. If you've got any thoughts on how this might work better, I would genuinely be really interested to know, so critique away. But yeah, for now, I'm gonna build the other set of shelves. That's what I'm gonna do. So I thought I would just bring the shelves down here to build, and the fact that I'm actually able to come and sit down here to do it just shows how much space I've freed up. So if I put another one of these over on the far side, as I say, I think for now that's just going to help to free up quite a lot of room. Oh, I do hope so. I know I said in my my last video on here, but my reset video, that I am considering kind of having a little bit of a downsize this year. I was thinking about that afterwards, and there's a lot of things that I don't want to, like a lot of plants that I do not want to get rid of. I'm definitely not ready to get rid of. And I think I just need to figure out more practical ways to display my plants in order to keep them happy. And also, like, I don't know, not feel as cluttered, because I had so many of my plants in essentially one space when I was living back at my mum's house. I had loads of them crammed in her conservatory, and for some reason there was something about that didn't feel overwhelming, even though it was just one room. And I feel like maybe I just have not optimized the space well enough here. So yeah, I think I just need to rethink things. And the beginning of the year always feels like a good time to do stuff like that. I know realistically it doesn't make a difference what time of year you do it, but I don't know. There's something about it that almost feels like a good excuse for a reset. So, they haven't given me a screwdriver. That's because it's an Allen key. Okay, if I remember correctly, this was very straightforward to put together before. Famous last words. Perfect. That took, I think, about 5 minutes in total, maybe a little bit more, maybe like 7 or 8 minutes, but it really was not difficult. So yeah, I would recommend these shelves, and I'll link them down below if anyone's interested. But what I think I'm gonna do, I think I'm just, because I'm looking at all of the plants that I've just put here and I'm aware that there's 2 of us that need to use this room, and also Joli will probably want to come back in shortly. So I think I'm gonna just get stuff onto the shelves, free up some space in that area, and then if I want to swap things in and out, then I can. It'll also give me a chance to kind of properly look over all the plants and deal with any issues that I may come across. Oh my goodness, this is knackering. I was just having a good look at my alocasia, my variegated alocasia fry deck, and bar the little bits of damage on the leaves here and there, it actually does look okay. I think I just panicked because this plant is like my baby, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just fill up the semi-hydro again on top of it. I kept back the stuff that I swept up off the floor that I lost from this plant before, and then what I'll probably do is just like boil it up, make sure all the germs are gone, and then I can reuse it on another plant. But yeah, for now I'm just filling this one back up and it's good to go back on the shelves. The sun's just come out for the first time in what feels like forever, and it just makes everything that little bit easier. But this is what I've done so far. I've got a lot of the plants back into their positions. I've started kind of filling up the little shelves here, and oh my goodness, it does make such a difference. I haven't finished filling that shelf just yet because I have come across quite a lot of stuff I need to deal with, so I thought it was best to do that before I get things back there. But just look at how much space this frees up just by having the bigger plants at that end there and just a little bit more like vertical space here. Joli also just walked through here a minute ago and it was absolutely fine. She had so much room to maneuver. So obviously, unless I'm doing planty things in this area, I probably won't have to keep a gate here all the time, which I'm really happy about. But one of the things that I wanted to do as well is my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma that I potted up in my last plant chores video that I did. I previously kind of had it just going around the handles of the door and it was working quite well, but I've got lots of these little twisty clips that I've shown you before. I just get them on Amazon. And I was thinking it would look quite nice to just get it climbing up the side here. The twisty clips are really easy to take on and off, so also I can barely see you, it's so bright now, my God. But they're really easy to take on and off, so if I decide that I want to do things a little bit differently in a month or two, then it's not the end of the world. But currently, because I haven't staked it and it's very long, it just keeps getting caught on things and it keeps getting in the way. And I think it would get very good light here, and I think it would also look beautiful. So, whoa! So nearly almost built semi-hydro all over the floor again. In fact, I did slightly spill a little bit, but it's fine. So I've just brought some things over that have caught my attention that I need to deal with, but I also just wanted to give you an update on my Rhaphidophora foraminifera, I think it is. I got this one at, again, this is another London plant swap one, and I transferred it to Pon fairly recently, and it's got some really lovely roots in there. And it has just started giving me some new growth, which I'm so happy about. I didn't even notice this happening. I think just because it's been in one of my window boxes. As I say, that side of the room has just been a little bit neglected. I think like part of the reason being that I just can't get round there that easily to do things to the plants. So yeah, I'm hoping that this little shift up is going to mean that I feel more inclined to do plant care in that area and keep on top of things. But yeah, that's really, really exciting. I'm so excited to watch this one grow. The potential of this plant is just insane. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then this is one that had been shoved over in a corner in that area that has not been doing well for a while. It's my very weird looking Philodendron silver sword. And up until a few months ago, this was the most beautiful plant, and it was a plant that I absolutely loved. And it got pests and it went downhill very quickly, and I was not vigilant enough with how I dealt with the issue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to completely chop it up. I'm going to just take the wet sticks, I'm going to put them into my prop box. I have got several other silver swords in my collection as well, so I will be able to at some point get a lovely full plant going of it again. But I'm just going to be brutal because I feel like now is the time that I kind of need to be a little bit more. And then, yeah, as I say, in a couple of months, I'll be able to get it going again. I think I'm often just really bad at restarting plants if they need it. And as I say, I think some of the issues that I've had in that area could have potentially been eliminated if, for example, I dealt with this properly the first time. I did a pest treatment, but then I think I put it back in that area too soon. I think I should have chopped it back sooner. There were some leaves on there. It had spider mite damage, and there were some leaves on there that absolutely needed chopping, and I thought they'd be okay. And you live and you learn, don't you? But I feel like, as I said in my last video again, I feel like this year I do just need to be a little bit, I guess, like, is strict to the word? Like, just a little bit more, I want to say strict, a little bit strict with myself, just in terms of like going with my gut and accepting the fact that if I want the plants to be okay, sometimes biting the bullet and actually being a little bit brutal is the best way to go. But, so that's what I'm left with in the pot now, and I'm gonna just leave this as is. I'm gonna keep it probably on one of the shelves, actually. There is space to keep it over there now. And I'm gonna just keep this one hydrated. I'm probably gonna change out its soil just to be on the safe side as well, just in case there are any pests lurking in the soil. But then, yeah, hopefully this section will regrow, and then all of these little chunks that I've got here will go into my prop box. And as I say, hopefully in the next few months, I will be potting them up again. But then the next thing that I want to do is one that I think I will put over by the window, but currently has just been in my cabinet. And I know I said again the other day that I wanted to do this and I just haven't got around to it yet. But one of my Alocasia Frydek corms has sprouted, and it has given me a complete ghost leaf. And I mean, it's so beautiful. I know that because this doesn't contain any chlorophyll, this leaf probably won't last that long. And to be honest, I need to do, I'll put some information on the screen, but I need to do a little bit of research into the variegated Frydek and its variegation patterns, whether or not it's stable. Because my experience with this plant is that it can almost completely revert, and then the variegation can come back. And that did happen to my plant, to my big plant. I thought I'd completely lost the variegation. It gave me a completely green leaf, and then the next one was variegated. So I don't know if it's the same the other way around. I don't know if maybe the next one might have a beautiful balance of variegation, but I'm gonna hope that that's the case, and I'm gonna keep propagating this plant anyway as much as I possibly can when I do get corms. But yeah, I'm gonna start it off in something a little bit bigger than I usually would, just because I know how fast these roots spread. Like, I repot my alocasias in pond so regularly. So although if I was doing soil transfer, this would probably be a little bit overwhelming, I think this is what I'm gonna start with. And I'm just gonna bring over the semi-hydro because I completely forgot to do that. So yeah, I have also given the majority of this bag a really good rinse off. I took it all out of the bag and I gave it a rinse through a couple of months ago. But just like picking the bag up and putting it down, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but I can see that there's quite a lot of like dusty residue, and that typically is the stuff that you want to get rid of before you put plants into semi-hydro, because it can mean that they are more susceptible to root rot. So what I'm going to do, just because this is a very special plant and I don't want that to happen, I am just going to rinse out, put it in the sieve and rinse out a little bit more, just to get, if there is any excess, just to get a little bit more of that dustiness off. Cool, so I've given it a rinse through, but it is a little bit drippy, so I'm just going to leave it on the draining board and work from there. But yeah, I'm so excited to see what this little one does for me. And I think, like, I know some of you are saying, what, like, am I going to sell my variegated alocasia Frideck babies? And if it starts giving me loads and loads and loads of corms, then yes, I will, or I'll take them to plant swaps. But for the time being, I'm so focused. I love that plant so much. I'm so focused on getting it as kind of full and beautiful and bushy as I possibly can. So I'm thinking I will probably, assuming this one takes well, I will probably pot it back up with the mother plant. I know that seems maybe a little bit silly because obviously I took the corm out of the pot and I propagated it separately, but I feel like sometimes if you do leave the corms in there, they can just rot or die off. I have in fact just taken some other corms out of my alocasia green shield, and some of those ones had just shriveled up. So, I mean, the alocasia green shield gives me corms what feels like every other week. That's probably an example, like every month, whereas my variegated Frideck hasn't given me that many yet. So I'm just being very, very cautious and careful with the plant because it just feels so special to me. And as you can see, I'm potting it quite low down, and I'm just doing that so that I've got space to be able to add more semi-hydro kind of as time goes on, because I know part of the reason I've had to repot my mother plants so many times is so that I can fill the semi-hydro higher, because obviously filling it higher around the rhizome as the plant grows just helps to encourage the aerial roots to kind of kick into action. And typically, then the plant grows better. So yeah, that is what I'm going to do for now. And I know that looks a little bit silly now. It's just a teeny tiny leaf in there, but I think I will pop that one, as I say, over on the shelves. And yeah, I'll keep you updated with it. I'm really not sure what's going to happen. I don't know if I'll get another leaf before this one dies off. I don't know if maybe this one's just a little bit doomed. I honestly don't know, but I won't know unless I try. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, also, as I say, I have got these corms that I took off my alocasia green shield. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop them into the exact same container. I'll change the little bit of water bit into the same container as the variegated alocasia Frideck one was. Close it up, keep it either by the window or in my cabinet, and hope that those ones sprout for me in the next kind of month or so as well. And then I can either get some more baby plants of those ones going. I could pot them up with the mother plant as well. Although, as I say, it gives me so many corms. I'm not sure I'm going to do that. I don't know. These will probably be plant swap ones, I would have thought. And in fact, it's quite useful to actually start thinking now about what I might take to the next plant swaps, because they come around so quickly. And often when it gets to that time, I'm like, oh, I don't really know if I want to chop things. There's loads of plants that are growing really beautifully. So I think thinking a little bit ahead in that sense is probably quite a good idea in my case. I have got propagation boxes next door as well that I haven't opened in such a long time. So at some point I should absolutely go through them, pot things up, see what needs dealing with, because I'm sure there's more stuff. But one thing at a time. So yeah, I've just popped them in there, covered them in cling film because I don't know where the lid for this little container is. And I'll monitor them to make sure they don't rot, but typically doing things this way does seem to work most of the time. So yeah, I'm going to pop these probably into my cabinet and I will let you know what they do next. And the reason that there's a big empty space at the bottom of my cabinet, I know my cabinet is just looking a little bit empty after my declutter anyway, but the reason there's an empty space on the top shelf is because I took my Hoya macrophylla out as well. This one that I've been saying for a while, there's something just not quite right with it. Like, its leaves are quite thin and floppy, and I know when it's healthy, they're really thick and robust. And I can also see that this leaf down here is starting to yellow, and that is very out of character for this plant. It's never given me a yellow leaf before. I've owned it for a couple of years now, and it's typically been incredibly easy. I can't see any sign of pests, so I suspect this might be an underlying root issue. So I'm gonna take it out. It's currently just in a chunky soil mix that I think is, it's not like bone dry. I did give it a water the other day when I did my cabinet, but it's quite dry. So I'm gonna just take it out, have a look at the roots, and then we can go from there. Yeah, God, that soil is very, very dry. Like, maybe it just needs a pot upgrade. I don't know, because as I say, the first part of my reset video, I went through and I watered everything in my cabinet, and that was only a few days ago. From what I can see, the roots are looking okay. It has got some sphagnum moss in with it, which I don't really know how that happened. That must have been me a couple of years ago, because as I say, I haven't repotted the plant in a while. But I think what I might do, yeah, it smells totally fine. Sometimes you can smell if it's a bit rotty, but it smells completely normal. I think what I might do is take some cuttings of this plant just to be on the safe side. This one did have mealybugs a few months ago, but I treated it several times and I did eventually manage to get them gone, which is really good because mealybugs are a nightmare, and I was so scared of losing this plant then. Okay, what I'm finding as I go through, I've just taken that leaf off as well, but as I'm going through and I'm trying to get all of this sphagnum moss off the roots, is that although it's coming away okay and there are some healthy roots in here, a lot of them are, I don't even know how well you can tell, but a lot of them are just really dry. And I think this is probably partly because, as I say, it has got so much sphagnum moss in here and it has been in a very hot environment in my cabinet. I think maybe it's just been drying out way quicker than it would have been if it was in pure soil. And seeing as you can quite easily propagate Hoya in soil, I'm kind of thinking, should I just chop the whole thing up and start a whole new plant? I don't know. I think that probably is going to be the best option because it hasn't seemed to be rehydrating when I've been watering it back through. So I think in order to make sure I don't lose this plant, that's what my gut's telling me to do. And I am going to go with my gut. So I'll take slightly smaller cuttings. And the good thing is, although obviously ideally a node would be submerged for Hoyas to grow, typically because they do have these little like internodal bumps, little aerial roots, they can root from that part as well. And not that many plants actually do that, but for Hoya it does make it a little bit easier because often you can just stick it down into soil and it will start to root from there. And the good thing with giving it a chop up and kind of chopping some of the existing long vines just means that when it does start to get going again, hopefully it will be a lot fuller because it'll put out growth points from places that it wouldn't have done otherwise. I'm just seeing if any of these roots are potentially salvageable. Yeah, this looks like a better example. Look at how dry they are. And because they're so dry, I would say they're probably quite likely to rot if they get too wet or if they're submerged in water for too long. So I'm going to just give these roots a complete trim back. To be honest, this bottom section here feels really like dry and twiggy. Yeah, I've just broken it in half to have a look inside, and although it's not dead, it's not like, I don't know, it's not quite as fresh as ideally I would like it to be, which makes me think I'm gonna chop and I'm gonna start again from there. Because yeah, those leaves are so flat and thin, and they should be thick and healthy and robust. And I have checked this plant, I can't remember if I said, but I have checked this plant for flat mites as well, and I haven't been able to see anything even under the microscope. So yeah, I think this is the right thing to be doing, even though it's making me sad. So because I've got quite a lot of sections of this plant, I think what I'm probably going to do is in the name of saving the plant, I'm going to do it in a few different ways. I'm going to get some into water, I'm going to get some into soil, and I'm going to get some into semi-hydro, just because those are all ways that I like to propagate Hoya. And then if one fails or if one rots, then I've got backups. So yeah, I think I've got this little plastic humus container, and I've been using this for quite a lot of semi-hydro propagation in Hoyas. So I'm just gonna do some in this, and I'll probably keep them in my cabinet again for the time being, just because I don't particularly want to change out their environment completely. I want to try and make it a gradual transition for if I do take them out the cabinet. So the fact that I'm changing out their substrate, I think I'm gonna keep things simple. Oh, some are really deflated. Right, this is gonna be my little semi-hydro one. And the good thing with Hoyas, because they are more robust than most plants, is I always just like, I'll fill it up and then I'll just poke it down. And obviously until it starts to root, it might be a little bit fragile and wobbly, but they do tend to root fairly quickly. So I'll just make sure to keep its reservoir filled and not move it about too much for the first couple of weeks. But yeah, there we go. That's the first one. And then the ones in soil. How many do I want to do? Yeah. Okay, I think I'm just going to keep these two to one side to do in water. One of them being the most dehydrated floppy one. I feel like that will give it the best chance, or at least I'll be able to tell sooner whether or not it's working. And soil wise, I'm just using a Soil Ninja base mixed with a little bit of extra perlite and orchid bark to make it nice and chunky, typically because Hoyas just really enjoy that. So I'm hoping this should do the trick. And to be honest, just because it's easier, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the semi-hydro. I'm just going to fill it, and then I'm going to push the cuttings down into the soil instead. So that's my soil ones all done. Just give it a water. And then with my water ones, I'm a little low on containers, and I'm wondering, I think I can probably fit them in this for the time being. Typically Hoya roots are quite spindly. It's not like when, for example, like a philodendron gets rooting and then you can't get them out again. I think this should be okay. So yeah, I will just fill that up with water and put all of them back in the cabinet. And then lastly over here, one that you might have already spotted is my Aglaonema zebra feathers. I think, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And this one has not been looking that happy all of winter, to be honest. And I know I said this in a video recently and some of you were saying that yours had been the same. So I don't know if this is one that just adjusts to differences in conditions a little bit worse than other Aglaonema. Because for example, I've got my Aglaonema cutlass just here, and that one has been absolutely fine, and it's still giving me growth now. And this one's in, I guess, oh my God, one of my neighbours has such a loud car. But it's in a fairly low light spot, but I don't know, maybe it does just need more light. But I thought I would just trim off the yellow growth and just have a little look at the roots. And if they look healthy, again, they're quite dry, but for the most part, those look pretty good to me. So I think maybe, similarly to what I said about my Aglaonema the other day, I think maybe I will just give it a good water through and try it a little bit closer to the window for the next few days and see if it perks up. And if it doesn't, then I'll think about maybe separating sections of the plant, I think, so that then again, it's similarly to what I've just done with my Hoya macrophylla. If things do go wrong, I'll have options of what to do. But yeah, for the time being, good water and back by the window, I'd say. And while I'm on a roll, the next thing I want to do that was on my list is extend my Monstera dubious moss pole, because oh my goodness, now that this plant has started growing in its new, like on its new pole, not on a plank since I chopped it, it is just going crazy. I only extended this pole, I think about 2 months ago, and already it's massively growing off, and as you can see, it's also getting ready to give me another ginormous leaf, and its leaves are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is honestly like, I'd say like 45, 50 centimeters in length. It's absolutely insane. That's it compared to my hands, just so that you can see. But yeah, I would love nothing more than to just let this one grow and grow and grow. Like, I have got quite high ceilings in here, so I'm like, maybe I can just let it continue to grow for a while. But I don't know, it also does need very high light in order to keep producing this beautiful large fenestrated growth. I know I'm getting ridiculously ahead of myself here, but I just know with every moss pole extension, it gets a little bit crazier. But for the time being, I'm going to see how much wire I've got, how much of an extension I can realistically do, even if I just kind of stagger it and do bit by bit as I've been doing already. And then, yeah, just see how it goes. Go with the flow. Oh my goodness, something I need to do soon, again, is massively reorganise this cupboard. In fact, I might even try and do it in the next few days, because I got it so beautiful and organised a few months ago and it has just slipped. And I've got this chicken wire stuff that I use for my moss poles. I've shown you before, I just get it at B&Q, and although it's fantastic, it kind of like grips onto anything it touches. And I've tried to neatly stack it at the side of this cupboard, and anytime I try and take a piece of it out, oh, in fact, that's actually pulled out quite easily, not proving my point. But every time I try and take anything out, it catches on things and it pulls loads of stuff with it. So yeah. Right, I think I'm going to try and go as big as I can. I was looking at that bit and I was like, maybe I could just do an extension like that, but I think I'd like to do maybe double that if I can, just so that I don't have to come back and do an extension again anytime soon. So I found this bit of wire that is pretty big. It's from the ground, it's up to like there on me sitting down. So I think this is probably, Yoli, come through. Good girl. I think this is probably going to be like the most amount of height I'd be able to add onto that moss pole with it still fitting in the spot I've just put it in, but I'm gonna try it. And it should allow, I mean, obviously a lot of room for the plant to grow, and then I can make a decision on what I do with it after that. Because I mean, to be honest, and this might sound ridiculous because I know we are in the winter months. I say winter months because the sun is beautiful and out today, but this plant is growing so quickly for me. Its most recent leaf has not even finished hardening off yet, and already it's getting ready to give me a new leaf. So I would predict that maybe this moss pole extension will last 5 or 6 months, maybe not even that. In fact, I'd say probably potentially like 4 months, considering how quickly it's grown. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I know I could, this is just me voicing out loud, feel free to comment your opinions or what I should do down below. But I know I could take cuttings of this plant and again, plant swap. I know I could also sell them or swap them. I just don't want to chop it. I get so attached to my plants and so proud of them and how well they grow. And I really wish there was something I could do to kind of get over this a little bit, because I know that like chopping your plants back, taking cuttings is so healthy. But when it's a plant that you've grown from something small into something really big and magnificent, that almost feels like, I don't know, the marker of how well you've done. And if you chop it back, then it feels like you're kind of like taking away all your hard work. I know that's such a stupid thing to say, but that's just kind of how it can feel sometimes. And what I'm just doing now is I could cut them, but to be honest, it provides like a softer edge if you just go through and bend them. I'm just bending down the sides of the wire where I've previously cut, just so that it doesn't rip leaves. It's awful, this stuff. If it kind of brushes up against leaves, it can rip them so easily. So just sitting and looking at this area that I've cleared feels amazing. I know it's not where it needs to be, and I know I've still got stuff to do, but it feels so much better. I feel like I can see each individual plant. I feel like in terms of like manageability, I feel like if I was to get in there now and do planty things, I could do it without knocking things over. It's so funny, isn't it, how like I was just, again, like just thinking about when I had all my plants at my mum's house, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I need a bigger space. And as soon as I got to the flat, I was like, oh my God, it's perfect. I've got all this space. And I guess it's just like how a goldfish grows to its bowl. Like I just adapt to the space that I'm in and typically fill the space with plants to the point that it does just become a little bit too much. Because I can guarantee if I had like a house now, I feel like I could keep on top of my collection. I mean, maybe I couldn't, maybe that's a complete lie. But I feel like if I had more space to maneuver, I could find ways to keep on top of it better than I am. But yeah, shelving, space-saving things, I feel like are going to be my best friend this year, because already this feels so much better. I'd be really interested to know actually what you guys have done space-saving wise, like how you display your plants, things that you do to kind of make your collections feel more manageable. Is it shelving? Is it hangers? Is it some kind of other system? What do you do? Please let me know in the comments, because I would love to get inspired and I would love to have a change up this year and have just to reorganise my own collection, just so that I can, as I say, fully appreciate things again. Now I've literally just rearranged, but I think this is going to be a lot easier if I take them on Steradubia out instead of doing it there. I know I said I could do it there, but I kind of want to give the plant a check over as well. So I'm going to move my Philodendron Splendid and try and navigate my Monstera dubia without breaking any other plants. This will be the real test. You know what? I did that fairly easily. That means it's worked. The rearrange has worked. So because I'm doing a pretty huge moss pole extension, for now I've actually only put the back on to there. I haven't cut the cable ties yet. But I thought I'd kind of fill it as I go, because similarly to what I did the last time I extended its moss pole, I probably won't fill the moss all the way up, just because obviously then I'll be monitoring and hydrating moss that doesn't need to be hydrated for the time being, because there won't be any of the plant on it. So I thought I would just see, like, get it on as it is and see what I thought once I'd done that. And again, the last time I extended this moss pole, I did say this, that if you're using a D-shaped moss pole, the one thing that I found really, really, really useful is making sure you leave a little overhang on your acetate sheeting or whatever you're using, and tucking it inside what's already there instead of over the outside, just because the first time I extended this moss pole, I put it on the outside like that instead of on the inside, and water just spilt down and didn't hydrate the bottom of the pole at all. So yeah, I'm gonna try and slide it in if I can. But it's so difficult because I've got the bit on top. It's quite heavy, like flopping around. Oh, my hair's caught. No. Okay, and then I'm going to try and cable tie it together. And what I usually do as well is I'll cable tie the grid together as well, just to kind of make it extra secure. And then, yeah, for now, I would say I'll probably only fill the moss to about there, because as I say, there's really no benefit in filling it any higher. But as you can see, I have left more than enough room to be able to extend up, and I have cut my sheeting to be able to make the back. So I'll probably make the D shape on the back and then just fill with moss as I go. One thing I'm also really keen to do at some point is to convert this moss pole that I've got my Philodendron Splendid on into a D-shaped moss pole. Because as you can see, although it is doing good things for the plant, and although it has got lots and lots and lots of aerial roots that are in some cases literally growing through it, it's just a lot harder to keep it hydrated compared to the plastic-backed D-shaped ones. And I feel like if I really want to continue to do the best for this plant, a D-shaped moss pole is gonna be the way forward. And I'm kind of dreading doing the transition just because I know it's gonna be so finicky to undo this. I think I'll almost have to cut it off and detangle the roots and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely on the cards, and something that probably in the next few weeks I'm gonna try and do. And to be honest, if I was starting a new moss pole for this plant, I would probably do what I've done for my big Monstera, just, oh, you can't really tell very well just there, but I've used a piece of white guttering for that, just because obviously it's so much more sturdy and you don't kind of have to reinforce it, because I think at some point I'll probably have to get like a bit of bamboo cane or something down the back of this one, just because although it's standing up pretty well by itself, it's not completely straight. And I don't particularly mind that, but if I do decide that I want to grow the plant, like let it outgrow this moss pole and keep growing, I can guarantee I'm gonna need something more sturdy. But for the time being, this will do the job. God. Okay, I'm glad that this isn't in a spot that I'm gonna have to be brushing past on a regular basis, because it does hook you in. You know what I might even do for now, just so that I don't have to worry about this floppy bit on top, I think I might just bend it over like that. And then, as I say, I can just re-bend it up and put the other bit of plastic on in, I don't know, a few weeks, a month, when this plant starts to get to the point where it needs that section of the moss pole. I think that's what I'm gonna do, because for now this feels more manageable. And I don't know why, whenever you extend a plant's moss pole, I'll put the camera back a little bit so that you can see, but whenever you extend a plant's moss pole, it always just kind of makes the plant look bigger. I don't know why, do you know what I mean? Like, there's something about it that just, I don't know, I feel like just brings out the beauty of the plant even more. But yeah, I still have got a lot that I need to get through. I'm just detangling another plant that's been hanging over the camera. But I have still got a lot that I need to get through, but I am pretty happy with what I've managed to do today. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm absolutely knackered. I don't know why cleaning just always knackers me out a bit, but yeah, I'm happy with what I've got done, and I will be continuing in the next kind of plant choresy video that I do. But I really hope if you were doing stuff along with me, as always, I hope you got loads done as well. I hope you're feeling good about it. I hope we can do stuff together again next time. But if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.